Good time zone, Gen Friends, and welcome to CrossGen Friends, your gaming, pop culture, and tech podcast with a multi-generational point of view. I am Joe LaRussa, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Byron Miller. How are you today, Byron?
I am doing pretty well, Joe, but I have a question for you.
Oh,
What's your
yeah?
happy place this week?
My happy place this week is kind of extensive. So I, this past weekend, had a wedding for one of my best friends. It was in Dallas, Texas, or a suburb of Dallas. So I got to go to Dallas for the first time. I'd never been before. It was a very lovely little ceremony. It was mostly her family and a couple of friends of his, and it was on one of her parents' properties in the area. So it was outdoors in this beautiful, sunshiny weather. I I don't know. Have you ever been to Dallas, Byron?
I have
How much time have you spent there?
1 week.
Okay.
I don't need to
Did
go
you
back.
what was that?
I don't need to go back.
Did you experience a phenomenon called what I'm going to call half day downpour, half day sunshine?
Nah, it was nice the entire time I was there. It was in I guess April 2 years ago.
Yeah, so we were there. I was there rather. We as in like the people who were there for the wedding were there for like 2 days. I got in on the Friday. The wedding was Saturday. I flew out Sunday on Easter. Uh, and I essentially got there and it was kind of drizzly, not too bad. It was dark. It was night, whatever. So you get the next day in the morning, downpours, hard showers, crazy rain coming down. I'm like, what? The wedding's outside. What's going to happen? What are we going to do? And someone who was nearby had said, "Oh, it's going to clear up by the afternoon." I said, "Okay," expecting it to be kind of cleared up and probably still damp and everything. No, it rained for like 6 hours. It rained from like 7 a.m. when we got up to get the kolaches that we went and got for breakfast until like noon or 1 p.m. So whatever that is, 5 hours. And then by the time the wedding happened at 4, the birds were singing and the sun was sunshining and it was dry. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen that happen. Because
I can't.
Florida,
So in Florida, it rains for half an hour every day, so it's
that's
not an
right.
entirely phantom phenomenon for you.
It's the fact that it was raining for 5 or 6 hours straight and then
Yeah.
completely cleared up. When
So one
Florida
thing,
rains all day, it rains all day.
yeah, but like in Florida, even if there's a 0% chance of rain, there's a 100% chance of rain sometime during the day. It feels like.
Yeah, it was just so strange to me to have this like whole morning. I mean, it was dark and dreary. Like it looked like a storm, like a giant storm, and then poof, just gone.
What I can tell you is, with the exception of hurricanes, you don't experience Midwestern storms. They are a different kind of thing than the typical thing that you experience.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it for sure. Well, so that was part of my happy place. That was really it was nice. We got to go to her parents' house for the reception and hung out and for a few hours and just chit chatted with everyone and just got to spend time with someone who I don't get to see very often. And then I flew out the next day. Oh, I should add that Koala, friend of the show, Koala, listener of the show, did make the drive from Houston to Dallas to come and see me. He drove all the way over just to hang out with me for like Friday evening and Saturday morning. So that was very nice of him to do.
It's a long way away.
It's like 4 hours for him with the stop because he takes stops along the way or whatever to stretch. So I thank you, Mr. Koala. I appreciate your kindness and you visiting. It was very nice. We had a good time hanging out that night. Uh, we tried to go to Choctaw Casino up in Oklahoma, but the bride to be, now wife, said no. She forbade him from going, so he didn't go. Uh, and then yeah, I left, and then that was Easter, so I flew on Easter, which was a nice, chill Easter day. Nothing crazy about it, just a simple flight. And then the next part was my birthday was Monday, so that was
Happy
fun.
birthday.
Thank you very much. I didn't really do anything exciting or noteworthy other than I took my mom's cousin out for dinner that day, and I went shopping at Publix because I needed groceries because I got to town here. I went to my favorite restaurant in the area, which was really nice to go to because I wanted to go there the day before, but it was Easter and they were closed, so couldn't do that. And we had a nice time with that. And then, totally coincidental, I happened to be in town with a suit because I had come from a wedding just beforehand. My cousin, I'm on, I get a text from him. We're talking about something, and I say how I was in town, and I don't know if he didn't know or if he forgot or whatever. But he goes, "Oh, you want to come to Oliver's baptism, which is his son?" And I said, "Yeah." So I went to his son's baptism, uh, and then I had dinner with them. They had like a whole baptism celebration thing that evening for dinner, and was very tasty. And that was it. So I had a lot of happy places this week. It was nice. I got to see some family, got to see some friends. Had a pretty good opening to this visit down in sunny Orlando, which I can say because it's actually sunny today. So
Wait till 3 o'clock.
we'll see. What about you, sir? What is your happy place this week?
So I'll go three wide as well. And the first on my list is Easter. My parents came over for Easter. Typically, we do holidays with my parents will come to visit us on a holiday, but we'll also do with some of our good friends. They went out of town for the weekend, so we
Hmm.
didn't get to see them, but we still had Easter with my parents. Celebrated my dad's birthday a little bit because we hadn't seen him for his birthday end of March.
Oh, happy birthday,
Um,
Mr. Miller.
yep, Dr. Miller. But yeah,
Dr. Miller, that's right. You're right, Dr. Miller. Yeah, you're Mr.
um,
Miller.
I'm Mr. Miller or Master Miller if you want to go by my graduate initials, but nobody does that because that's children.
Yeah.
But we had lamb, which is traditional for Easter, and mashed potatoes, which is traditional for every kind of holiday meal that we have. Because my wife is good at mashed potatoes; she learned from my mom, and everybody loves my wife's mashed potatoes. Actually, we're gonna have some leftovers tonight. We're gonna try to clean the fridge
Nice.
out. So that was super nice. Always good to see my parents. Um, And then last night, we actually cleaned up the deck and spent the evening on the deck and watched a movie and had dinner out there and
Nice.
just hung out. And I love our deck. We have a projector, we have a screen, I have speakers for it, we have a gigantic umbrella to block the sun. And between April and I don't know September, we live out on the deck on the weekends.
Really?
Yeah, I think that it's great. I pull up a power strip, and so I can charge my iPad or whatever, and we lay out on the sofa out there. And last night it got a little cold, and so I had to get a blanket from inside. But it's just I love hanging out there, having a beer, having a mixed drink or whatever, having dinner. What we'll typically do in the summertime, and especially during football season, is we'll I'll go for a long run one morning, and then we'll have like tapas or chips
Hmm.
and dip for lunch out there on the deck, and that's kind of our summer and fall tradition. So we'll start doing that coming up. But yeah, I love the deck. And last on my list is, have you watched The Boys?
I've not watched The Boys. I've heard of it, but I've not watched it.
I like The Boys a lot. I think it's fantastic, and it started season 5, the final season this week, and there have been 2 episodes released, and so I am now caught up on The Boys season
Nice.
5, episodes 1 and 2. It continues to, I think, very good. Yeah, I don't want to give spoilers away, but I'll say that they are linking the series to current events in America. And if there was any question as to what they were thinking at the end of last season, they really hit you over the head with it this season. Um, but it's good. It's essentially what if superhero. I guess the tagline for the first season was "Never meet your heroes," and without giving too much away, in the world of The Boys, there are superheroes, but they have like the mental state of normal human beings. So all of the problems that regular human beings have, they do too. Some of
Oh.
them are greedy, some of them are power hungry, some of them are bipolar, and they behave accordingly, or accordingly in addition to having essentially unlimited power. There's one who's essentially Superman, there's one who's Wonder Woman, there's one who's the Flash.
There's
um,
spin-offs of the show too, right? Like they've spun it off a couple times.
there was a cartoon. I have not seen the cartoon. I think they did another show, a college age version called Gen V,
Yeah,
and
that's the one
Gen
I was
V
thinking
was,
of.
yeah, it was exceptional. I had no expectations for that, and they did 2 seasons of that. And honestly, it might be better than the source or than the parent show.
Wow.
Gen V is very good. The main character in Gen V is she's different than most characters you would think of in the comic world. She has the ability to control blood, and so
She's a bloodbender.
she cuts her wrists open and uses it to harden the blood and hit people with the blood. And she eventually, spoilers here, I guess, she eventually gets the ability to control blood inside of other people's bodies,
She's a
which is a
bloodbender.
pretty potent thing to do. I mean, you can just explode their entire body if they make you mad enough. But yeah, she's a very very cool character, and I liked her a lot. And because of the events of the end of Gen V, I'm fully expecting her to show up in The Boys this year, along with some of the other characters from the Gen V series. But yeah, The Boys. If you haven't watched The Boys, watch The Boys. If you like superheroes, it's great.
See, audience, what we've experienced here is a generational difference where I'm saying she's a bloodbender and Byron has a blank look on his face like he
Oh, I
doesn't
know
know
what
what I'm
blood.
talking
That's
about.
Avatar. No, I know exactly. I just don't know the details of it. I think it has to do with mind control and stuff.
It
But
does not
yeah,
have to do with mind control. It's quite literally exactly what you said, controlling the blood in other people's bodies. And you can make them explode if you want to.
I know of it from Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
I've not watched Avatar though.
that's a shame. I did
Oh well.
on my flight uh to Texas, I watched the first 3 episodes of the Game of Thrones spinoff, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I want to watch that.
The first 3 episodes were good. I hadn't seen. I watched the first season of House of the Dragon. I haven't watched the others yet. I will, but I'm just kind of waiting until it to be done at this point because there's such a long gap between them. But I was on the plane. I was bored, and I was like, let me just check this out. So I took a look at it. It was really good. It was really fun. It was cute. It was like in a weird way. The
Yeah, I love
characters.
Game of Thrones. I've read through the first book and not any more than that. Honestly, I got kind of ticked off at Game of Thrones because George R. R. Martin refuses to finish the books, and so I'm like, well, I'm not going to read half of the books and then not know if they're ever going to conclude. So I'm going to wait to finish more books of that until either he dies and somebody else finishes it for him, or he decides to get off the pot and finish the book.
Yeah.
But I guess there's 2 more he needs to finish: Winds of Winter and then whatever concludes it.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know. I've never read any of the books. I watched the show, but I watched the show super late. Like I didn't really. I watched the first step of the episode of the show in college, and then I didn't watch any more of the show until I lived here in Florida in the condo. So it was like a decade later.
Wow.
Yeah. So I knew that there was controversy over it, and I knew about like certain things. You know, I knew like Red Wedding and the big things like that, but I didn't know how any of it happened. And I did manage to avoid having any idea how the show ended. I never got the ending spoiled for me in the time between it ending and
I think that the reason that happened is because so many people were angry as to how it ended, and they just didn't want. If it had been popular, I think people would have just talked about it, and you would have eventually heard about it.
I mean, I heard friends talking about it, but they either expressly avoided talking about the ending because they knew I hadn't seen it and knew that I planned on watching it someday, or I would just leave the room and let them talk about it. But I just I never saw the exact ending of it. So yeah, I liked the show pretty well, and I don't care that the ending wasn't great because it wasn't great. But
The last season wasn't great.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't that great. I do find it funny though, without spoiling the ending of that show, that some people were like, "Oh, Daenerys is nothing like what she was in the early." I'm like, no, she's on totally on track. Everything she's ever done is perfectly aligned with that. Even though the last season was bad, she was still her exact character. Anyone who didn't see who she was didn't understand what she was supposed to be at that point. I think at least. I don't think she had any character change whatsoever
All
throughout
right,
that show.
that's a different discussion. I don't want to get off the rails on that too much, but I have a different opinion.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Well, thank you, Byron, for sharing your happy place this week. It sounds like we both had a pretty nice week. Obviously, we have had a bit of a gap because we recorded differently than we normally do. But so now that we're back on our normal schedule here, let's jump
Ish,
into. Sorry,
ish.
ish. Well, yeah, ish. It's the weekend.
It's the weekend at least. Yeah.
Let's jump into the news, and I will start us off this time with some news that broke just yesterday. Amazon's Luna game streaming service has taken the first steps towards what we all know is its ultimate demise. Subscribers will no longer be able to purchase games from third party storefronts or use their subscription services via Luna's streaming platform. Game sales have already stopped, and subscriptions or access to previously purchased games playable via streaming are accessible until early June, and the dates vary depending on which service and some things you're talking about. So I didn't want to give a specific date there. Per Video Games Chronicles reporting on the story of an email sent out to Luna subscribers. Byron, what do you think about this? Are you a fan of
I,
game streaming?
The only game streaming, well, that's I guess not entirely true. What I was going to say, I've done game streaming via Xbox Game Pass, and I thought, with the exception of not having your all of the titles sharing the same saves with your local computers, I thought it ran pretty well. I enjoyed being able to play games wherever the heck I felt like it, whether or not I had something that was capable of actually playing the game. I could just stream it from the cloud. It always worked well. And I've done game streaming with my Steam, like a Steam Link,
Mm-hmm.
and you can run that from an iPad, iPhone, that kind of stuff, and that works pretty well. So
The long discontinued Steam Link.
no, there's an app. So there's the Steam Link, yes, but there's also like a Steam app that lets you
Oh yeah, the
stream
app for it.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of talk about it in the same way, but that only really works local or unless you have VPN into your home network. But I like the idea of game streaming. I don't have any reason to go do anything with Luna because I don't know. I just don't care about Luna. But
Yeah. I understand that perspective. I appreciate their attempts, but Amazon, it's hard to get into the games industry. People fail in doing it all the time, and I don't think Luna is going to end up being any different because this is at this point it's just competing with the GeForce Now. Like that's it. Like GeForce Now, you stream your games using high end softer hardware rather through the network. Like this, that's the nice thing with Luna was the ability to just link all of your stuff together, and now that's it. It's only a matter you have to be subscribed to Luna and you only have access to the games available through Luna itself for streaming. Like you don't have access to your own library anymore, which is like half the value for something like this for long like it's I guess it's good for young people who don't have a large library built up or a powerful hardware or whatever, but for people like you and I who've got these decade plus long libraries of PC games stored up, it's pointless to try and stream it if you're not gonna if you can't access it.
I'm not surprised. I mean, without cussing, it's the NSification of anything good out there that involves Silicon Valley. They
Yeah.
create something, they make it great for a low price to get people into it, and then they slowly start to try to yank profit out of it as best as possible and make it worse and worse,
And then kill it.
and then kill it and move to the next thing.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I don't
that'll
know.
actually go into our next story and into our wild card for the day. Not trying to cut off discussion, but honestly, they're all related.
Yeah, no, they are. They are. The last thing I was just gonna say is I don't foresee a future for Luna for much longer if they're gonna cut this off. I mean, Google Stadia barely lasted like 2 years before they killed it. So this lasted far longer than that did. But if you're gonna take out the things that make it valuable for people and continue to charge them the same or similar prices or more or more, eventually it's not gonna be worth it. And Amazon's always looking for ways to be worse. I swear. I don't know if you know this, Byron, but Amazon customer service now just straight up lies to you if you ask them questions.
Hmm. Yeah, we've reduced our Amazon usage quite a bit, and honestly, I may consider getting rid of it after the boys finishes, and then not pick up Prime again until something else comes that I really want to see. We don't order it, and so part of this is intentional. Um, I'm not necessarily aligned with some of the things that Amazon's owner does, and so I choose to spend my money other places than with
Sure.
Amazon. Um, and also, just like you said, it's gotten worse throughout the years. I used to love having the Amazon button under the sink, and whenever I saw I only had like 5 more dishwasher tablets, I'd press the button and order something, and they got rid of those. They want you to subscribe, and the problem with subscriptions is that you have to think to cancel the subscriptions or else they're coming.
Yeah.
um, I could go into a long spiel about this, but yeah, I mean, I'm not Amazon's not as great as it used to be, and I was thinking just the other day, if I decide to cancel after the boys is over, how much is it going to impact me? And the answer is it might not be that much at all.
Yeah, we use Amazon a lot in our family still, but I think about some bad. So just quickly on because it's related to games, my Crimson Desert Collector's Edition finally arrived after uh taking forever. So, game came out on March 19th. The game actually arrived officially on April 4th, which is good because it got here. But I'd been told all these things, like, it was updating and it, just it didn't say anything. And finally it said April 5th to the 11th. And I was like, great. And then it ended up showing up the day before that. And I was like, I'm not there. I'm not here yet. So that's annoying. But one of the things that I had to do was I was really worried about not having access to the pre-order bonus for the game because I wanted the pre-order bonus because it's like a cool shield that you get in the game. So I wanted that. And I couldn't figure out if I was going to get it if my collector's edition came after the release date or not. And I wasn't sure if Amazon was supposed to send it to me or if it was going to come in the box, because it was a pre-ordered game. So I didn't know. And I'd already pre-ordered the digital version just because I wanted to make sure I could get the pre-order bonus at least. And so the PlayStation has a 2-week policy. If you wait 14 days, you can return anything you haven't downloaded yet. So I was like, all right, this is almost a deadline. I'm going to contact Amazon and see if they're going to send me a pre-order code because I don't know. So I contacted them and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to send it to you. We send it to you the day before, right after it ships. We're going to send it to you. We know exactly what you're talking about. We're going to send it to you." They didn't know anything. It was in the box when I got the collector's edition. Like, why are you telling me that you're going to send it to me the day before? You don't actually know. And then the kicker of the actual lie, Byron, this was the actual lie. They started talking about when the game was going to arrive. I didn't even contact them to ask about that. And the lady I was talking with on the other end, she's like, I'm so sorry that your thing has been delayed. I'm going to put in a ticket for you and I will expedite it and it will ship within 48 hours. I said, "Oh, really? It's going to ship in 48 hours? That's great. Thanks for telling me that. Thanks for letting me know." She goes, "Yes, it'll ship." And then we're chatting a little bit more about whatever. And I go, "So just to confirm before I say goodbye, it's going to ship within 48 hours." And then she gets cut off and like she disconnects. And then someone else comes on and he's like, "Let me check your chat history." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "I just wanted to verify before I say goodbye on this chat thing that it's going to ship within 48 hours." He goes, "Oh no, I'm sorry. We can't promise that it's going to ship within 48 hours." I'm like, "But your colleague just told me she put in a ticket." And he's like, "Oh no, I can't put in a ticket because it's not past the estimated arrival date yet. We can't even put a ticket in yet." And I'm like, "So this person just lied to me." And he's like, "I'm sorry, my colleague gave you incorrect information." I'm like, "No, not incorrect information. She lied to me, literally told me a lie." Ugh, I hate that. I hate being
Sorry.
lied to. So frustrating. So yeah, Amazon's customer service, Amazon itself is so terrible now. And I remember it being so good for like a decade. And now it's awful.
Inessification.
I know. Ugh. Anyway,
All right.
that's enough on
Moving
that
on.
story. Amazon Luna, I hope you succeed or die or whatever. I don't know. I don't think you impact either of us, but it's just an interesting story. So Byron, over to you for the next topic.
Yeah, a post on XDA developers discusses a new hypervisor-based DRM that can undermine Denuvo copy protection. By running in the hypervisor, the bypass is able to hijack Denuvo's checks and return whatever information the hypervisor wants. For Windows users, this method would require bypassing the entire kernel-level security features, but in Linux, this level of protection isn't available. So this method can be used for, say, pirating games or bypassing kernel level protections on a Steam Deck or a Steam machine. Um, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I need to ask a few questions. What is XDA developers? What is hypervisor? What exactly is a kernel? Uh, and I think that's it. Yeah, 3 questions.
So I'm surprised you don't know XGA Developers. It is a gaming developer site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so go check it out sometime. It's very developer focused. So like you may
I'm
not
not a
understand
developer,
everything
so
there. Yeah, but you're interested in those kinds of
I
things.
am.
Yeah, so I was going to explain what a hypervisor is. Um, I'll go backwards, forwards with those two. So a kernel is essentially the base level of your operating system. So there's like the Windows NT kernel that is what Windows runs on. I think it's still called the Windows NT kernel because that's what the current versions of Windows were originally based off of. And so that it's protected in Windows for the most part from outside applications to access, so it's harder to compromise Windows. So think of it as the base code of your operating system.
But what
Every
is a
operating
kernel
system,
itself? It's the code?
it's the base code, yeah. So it's
Okay.
what everything else is built around. So it's what runs in the background that Windows is built on top of, that all of your applications run on top of. And when you develop an operating system, you intentionally try to obfuscate access to the kernel to limit the damage that would be done.
So you don't like
Um,
accidentally delete your operating system from your computer?
Yeah. I mean, in Windows that happens. In Linux you can do it, and nobody's there to stop you, which is part of what's here. If you remember the CrowdStrike issue from a couple years ago, that was because CrowdStrike had kernel level access. And since then, Microsoft has been more restrictive about who and what gets kernel level access.
Hmm.
And a lot of the people who hate Denuvo hate it because it's copy protection, A, but B, hate it because it gets kernel level access to prevent people from pirating games. So a hypervisor is, think of it as an operating system
Oh, sorry,
for
sorry, sorry,
operating
sorry, sorry. One
systems. Go
second.
ahead.
The current on the kernel side, how does Denuvo having kernel access prevent pirating games? How are those things connected? Because the game is a game and the operating system is the operating system.
Yeah, so my understanding of a lot of the ways that you can pirate games involve memory checks, inserting code into things, and Denuvo checks to make sure those kinds of things aren't happening. So cheats can't happen. So you can't alter the copy protection that's built into a game, those kinds of things. So I'll get into how that is affected by the hypervisor. Um, by and large, your computer runs on top of your physical hardware. There's not it's what's called an abstraction layer in between. That's changing more and more. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of like going all around the thing. So I'll explain what hypervisor is. So you've got different levels of computer, and the base level is called the hardware level, the bare metal level. There's different words for it. That's your RAM, your CPU, your graphics card, motherboard, etc.
The physical
Um,
parts.
Correct. And so what a hypervisor does is it sits on top of that. It's an operating system. The most common one is ESXi by VMware. Um,
What do you mean sits
Windows
on top of? Not physically
it
sits on top of.
abstractly sits on top of.
What does that
So
mean?
it's what runs off of your hardware.
Okay.
So in on your personal computer, you've got your hardware, and then Windows runs on top of it.
Yes.
For these massive server farms, or even server farms or server systems in people's offices, you've got your hardware, and then you've got your hypervisor that sits there. And the most common ones in the workspace are VMware, are AHV from Acropolis Hypervisor from Nutanix, and Hyper-V from Microsoft. And those are its own operating system that sits on top of here. And what they do is they allow you to install other operating systems on top of that. It allows you to divvy up the hardware so that you can run 10 servers on one
So it's
physical
like an
server.
HDMI port splitter.
It kind of is. It accomplishes two goals, one of which is it allows you to proportion out your hardware and make it so there's not as much wasted overhead. Like, most servers don't need the hardware that they would typically be given, so you can effectively manage your memory, manage your hard disk, etc., across multiple systems and be more efficient with how you're handing things out. Um, the other thing that it does is it protects the hardware from compromise. And
Oh.
what we're getting in, because it's a negotiation layer in between. So the operating system does not have direct access to the
Oh, okay.
hardware. It has access to the hypervisor that sits in between, and the hypervisor negotiates things back and forth. Um, we're getting way into the weeds here, but like throughout time, there have been different technologies released by hardware manufacturers. I think in Intel it's called vPro. In AMD it's something else, but that allows more of a more direct way to access the hardware from the OSs that you throw on top, Windows, Linux, whatever else, but still have the protection layer on top of that. Does that make sense before I get to the next step? And there's a lot that I'm leaving out here.
Yeah, that makes sense
Windows,
so far.
Windows itself is doing some of these things that you're not aware of to limit access to the hardware. It's not the same level, but it is using hypervisor type features to protect your computer from the BIOS being hijacked and that kind of stuff, to make sure that your boot sequence doesn't get hijacked. That's what secure boot is. So the technologies exist on your personal computer on these servers to make hypervisors more efficient and to get rid of the penalty for running an operating system on top of an operating system. Like the penalty for running a hypervisor is essentially negligible these years. I mean, it may be like a 5% or 10% thing. Um, and so what they found out is they have this specific hypervisor that you can run on top of computers, on top of potentially Steam Decks, that is essentially a hypervisor for playing games. And it will intercept the calls that come from your operating system down to the hardware and then return whatever values you want. So Denuvo sends a check down that says, has anything been altered? And the hypervisor says, no, nothing's been altered. And essentially you fool Denuvo. So you can do cheats, you can break copy protection, and the Denuvo never has any idea.
So how are you fooling Denuvo? Because I thought Denuvo was installed in the kernel level. I thought it was installed in the hardware level. So this like it's
No,
like
no, the
Denuvo,
kernel is not hardware. The kernel is software.
right? The kernel is the software. It's installed directly on the hardware.
No, no, the kernel is not hardware. It accesses the hardware. When you insert a hypervisor in between your Windows operating system and kernel, then it doesn't know that it's not accessing the hardware. The beauty of virtualization, which is what hypervisors allow, is the guest operating systems all think they have direct access to the hardware and they don't.
Okay, so what is the point? So when Denuvo is in the kernel, what is it accessing in the hardware? What does it care about in the hardware? Because like isn't all the stuff being done on a software level? Aren't you? Isn't like copying a software or breaking the cheats like that's all software level, right? That's not hardware.
It cares about the memory access.
Okay.
So whenever you're running cheats, whenever you're running cracks on games, you're altering what's going into and out of memory. And on a
Oh,
regular
like the
computer,
RAM.
yes, on the RAM. So on a regular computer, Denuvo has access to the hardware memory, and it can tell exactly what's coming into and out of those memory channels, those memory allocation blocks, whatever else. When you have a hypervisor in between the operating system and the hardware, it still thinks that it does,
Right, it's
but it
got the block.
doesn't.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it is it possible to create like a Denuvo resistant RAM then? Like a RAM specifically designed around blocking Denuvo or checks like that? Because that seems like that's what it cares about. It doesn't care about anything else, right? So
So I'm sure you could. There's two problems with that. The first being that you're talking about a very small market,
sure.
and
I just was wondering if it was technologically a possibility.
technologically, sure. But the second thing is Denuvo would see it, and Denuvo would say, yeah, you're doing something that I can't do anything with. This game will not launch."
Hmm. I see. So
So
it
that's
has to be
with
tricked.
the
It can't be blocked. It has to be tricked.
correct. So the hypervisor is fooling it,
It's
and
tricking it.
it
Yeah.
says these aren't the droids you're looking for. And Denuvo says, hey, those aren't the droids we're looking for.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I like my analogy of the HDMI port because it's like this is the one thing. Here's the thing that spreads it out. You can plug it into all of it, and you still use the same base hardware. You're just spreading it out about a bit.
Yeah, the problem with an HDMI splitter is that you can typically you have to press the button to switch what is the active one.
Oh, I
And
never
with a
had to do that. I
hypervisor,
had automatic ones.
but in a hypervisor, they're all running at the same time whenever you're having
Oh,
multiple
okay.
guest operating systems. Um, and places like uh, Google AWS, it's a Google Public Cloud is what Google's is called. Um, AWS, which is Amazon's,
Azure.
and then Azure, is those are all massive virtualization farms. Like, they have thousands of tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of millions of physical servers, each running whatever kind of hypervisor
Right.
and
Billions of
running
non-physical
hundreds of
servers.
millions of billions of, yeah. And I mean, it enables all kinds of great things. It enables you to create and destroy servers at a whim. It enables you to have servers that you can grow and shrink as demand increases, which is like honestly the only way that you can effectively use cloud and not have it cost an absolute ton of money.
Right. And so presumably the actual hardware they have is ginormous tens of millions of dollars installations capable of running, these billions of servers across.
Yeah, like you're not even close to the dollar amounts. But
Yeah.
yeah, and these days they also do it with graphics cards. So that's part of the thing with AI is you've got these NVIDIA level, gigantic level graphics cards that are way beyond even what the 6000 series professional, like they have the H200 or whatever it's called. And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a new version getting ready to come out that are just absurd GPUs that are done for AI.
Hmm.
And those are done the same way. Those are hypervisor run and virtualized and split as needed amongst different guest OSs.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thank you for that deep dive into understanding that.
Oh, that was a real shallow dive. It can take up. We could do a whole week of shows and talk about virtualization. It's not my world anymore, but it used to be.
Well, it helps me understand our our shared company or our shared history company and how we operate
Yeah,
better. So,
and so I mean, without going into too many details, there's two ways of doing things. They both involve hypervisors. One is called on-prem servers, and those are you run it in your office space, and you run the bare metal, and then you run the hypervisor for it. And the other is in a public cloud. There's other things. There's hybrid cloud. There's private cloud. Essentially, private cloud is when you run it in your workspace, but you can also run it in a colo or a specifically designed server farm.
and what's a colo for
There's
people? Because you use the
uh,
term apart.
sorry, a co-location. So you would hire or rent out space from somewhere else, and you could run your servers, your physical servers, at another location. A lot of them they have staff on site who take care of the physical um, servers. So if you ever like lost a hard disk or needed RAM swapped or whatever else, they would have staff on site that would do stuff like that, and you would have network access into it, so you could make your own servers that way.
Well, thank you for putting the tech into the tech part of our pop culture gaming and tech
Yeah,
podcast for the today. Shall we
yeah.
move
So
on? Oh
a
yeah,
couple
go
more
ahead.
things on top of
Yeah.
that. That's how they would essentially crack things like Denuvo. Of note, this week Resident Evil 9 Requiem became the first 2026 game to have Denuvo broken. I don't know if it used this technology or not. I just saw that it happened. So it's interesting. We'll talk about pirating games more in our wild card, but I have thoughts. I'll just stop it there.
All right. Next up, Xbox owned studio Undead Labs, known for its open world zombie franchise State of Decay, will be having a series of alpha playtests in May for its upcoming State of Decay 3. More interesting, however, is that the studio head, Philip Holt, revealed in an interview on the Sunny Games podcast, per a VGC article, that the 2020 reveal of State of Decay 3 was entirely fake. The studio hadn't begun work on it yet. It was a concept trailer. Directly from Holt, quote, the trailer in that trailer in 2020, there really wasn't a game or a game team when we were working on that trailer. It was so early, and I think there wasn't even a team. I mean, there was like 4 or 5 people. The game was in a Word document. There was really like the very beginnings of software.
And
Byron,
that's why I don't like game trailers and game reveals and stuff, because the penalty for BSing it is very minor, and I don't care until it's getting ready to come out.
I understand that perspective. I don't let the fact that there are games that have this sort of thing happen deprive me of the joy I feel of seeing a game that I'm excited for be announced. Because, as far as I'm concerned, you don't know that a new game is coming until it's announced at bare minimum. You can't ever assume anything. So just seeing the announcement that it's coming is like a weight off of your shoulders. It's a relief in your heart.
Yeah, but to me that's cool. Move on.
Yeah, sure. Cool, move on. I agree with that.
Final Fantasy 17 is coming out. Cool. I look forward to seeing something about it.
That hasn't even been announced yet.
I it's a it's an example.
But I always think back to the 2018 Dragon Age reveal trailer at the Game Awards. Like that game never even really came out because it was canceled and reshaped. But the actual next Dragon Age game didn't come out until 2024, and that was a reveal in 2018. And for me, I just was so overjoyed to see it announced because in my mind I went, all right, they did well enough to at least give making a new one a shot. because the games industry is so secretive that you never really know how well a game does. You never really know if it's done well enough to get a sequel. And so having an announcement of, hey, this game's getting a sequel is like, okay, it may get canceled, it may never actually come out, but at least I know the game did well enough to give it a shot, and that makes it more likely that it will happen than not happen. And that's my stance on it.
Maybe.
It's still more likely. It is more likely to come out than not come out if it's announced. That's my
I
stance.
like that you have hope.
I do. And it's why we'll talk about Greedfall a little bit later, but it's like I was so happy to see that Greedfall got the announcement of this prequel game. And now I know that it's dead after Greedfall, after this one. But it was it was such a relief. I was like, yes, they'll take their time, they'll make it, it'll be great. And then maybe it'll do better than the other one. Like you just get that announcement of like it's coming. The game that I loved is getting a sequel. Yay. Like that's how I feel when it comes to that sort of a thing. But I do think that you should be clear when your trailer is in that sort of a state. Like you should not pretend like it exists. Like that's part of the problem. I think with the games industry itself, I think it's way too secretive. It's way too lacking of transparency. Like it just they should have said, "Hey, we're making State of Decay 3. Here's a really cool concept trailer." And that would have still hyped everybody up. I think you still get really excited with honesty. I don't think you need to lie. What about you? What do you think people need to lie to get people excited?
Yeah, I think that there needs to be more lying. In fact, no, I think that's horrible. I mean, you weren't in the game market back in the 90s, but the term bullshot came out because game
I know the
companies would
term, yeah.
reveal these amazing graphics, and then the actual play graphics had nothing to do with that, and they were called bullshots because they were doctored images for video game magazines, because we
Yeah.
used to have magazines back in the good old days, to get people excited, and I'm sure to get them to pre-purchase games, and then it comes out and it's a blocky mess.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the term. Obviously, I was not a part of my history for the most part with my level of consciousness at that era of gaming history, but I do know what you're talking about, and it's really I, there's a line. Like I think there's a line between we're literally lying to you about what our game is going to look like. It doesn't look anything like this, and then there's another level of we're making a game and then we imply that it's being made right now, and it'll be coming out in sometime in the near future, and that's the State of Decay thing. And then there's just like hey, we're making a game, it's going to happen someday, no promises when, just FYI. Like that's how I feel. Like that's where most things should be, is in that third category. Tell us it exists, leave it alone. Don't make us think that it's coming out sooner. Don't make us think that's being worked on if it's not. And things happen. Obviously, games get canceled. Again, going to Dragon Age, they announced Dragon Age in 2018. They were working on a game. They were working on Joplin at that point in time, and Joplin got canned because EA decided to go all live service, and so they had to restart, and they just went silent. But at least they were trying to do something then. It was at that point, but things happen. They get delayed. You have to reset and restart and over, and then it causes issues. But it's still it should still be a level of honesty at the time. Hey, we're making a concept trailer. Hey, this is a marketing trailer. We are making this game,
I got
and that's
bad news
enough.
about you with capitalism, or bad news for you about capitalism. It rewards one thing:
Lies.
money.
Uh,
And whatever can be done to make money is just unbridled capitalism. There's a place for it, but
oh well. Well, that's all I have on that one. Let's go back
yep.
over to you for our last story of the week,
And
sir.
speaking on not knowing how games are doing, um, according to Forbes, Marathon's budget was over $200 million and potentially closer to $250 million. While the initial user base was high, but not in the top 10 for Steam, it's fallen off. But the article claims that Marathon is still out of Concord territory, i.e., getting canceled a couple weeks after it goes live. I thought it was particularly hilarious that Reddit described Marathon's cost as 20 X33s, 7 Stellar Blades, or 2.5 Witcher 3s, all which undoubtedly will sell more copies than Marathon will. To me, this is extraordinarily sad because I played Marathon when it was originally created on the Macintosh system. I love Marathon. I probably will still give Marathon a shot, and I would have by now, except the game's not out on Game Pass for whatever reason, so I'll wait till it's free. I'm not paying money for this one.
It's never going to be on Game Pass. Sony owns them. They're never going to put it out on Game
Oh,
Pass.
that's right. They bought Bungie, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh well, screw that. I'm probably never going to play it unless it goes cheap on Steam.
So my understanding from people who are the hardest of the hardcore fans of Marathon, like the original Marathon stuff that you're talking about, this game is, despite being completely different in terms of its gameplay, is a remarkable, remarkable continuation of everything that they did before. And completely worth dealing with whatever nonsense in there if you are a fan of the Marathon world and story and universe, because they have just the same level of terminals to read and lore and like the writing. It's like it's like two totally separate paths that merge into the same exact kind of storytelling. Like it's different gameplay, but the story all comes together in the same way. That's my understanding from people who are your age, who played those games when they were around, like are huge fans of it. They are saying I don't regret playing this game at all. It's exactly what I wanted. Even though I didn't,
Well,
even though they thought they were gonna hate it because of what they did, they ended up absolutely adoring it. So
maybe when it comes out either cheap on Steam, I'm just curious what it's $40. It's not like it's super expensive.
yeah, it's not. It's a yeah.
They at least priced it fairly, but dang, 200 to 250 million dollar budget for a game. This will get into the wild card also, but games cost too much to make and games cost too much to buy. Obviously, this one is an exception for the latter part of it, but
Yeah, I mean, Sony's first party studios, I mean, their budgets, that's what their budgets are. Horizon, Last of Us, like Spider-Man, they're all in that 200 to even $300 million range. But they sell. They sell enough, you know.
some of them sell enough, some of them don't. I don't think Marathon's going to hit it.
Well, I'm saying the other ones, the games I was listing, the Spider-Mans, the Last of Us's, the Horizons, you know, they all sell
But
enough to cover the cost.
those do. But like, what about Concord?
Well, Concord is interesting because they bought the studio that was making Concord in the middle of development. So it's interesting that way. But yeah, they're not all hits. But you know, the thing that the ones that aren't hits have in common is they're all multiplayer live service games. Aha.
Yeah, and I will not be upset whenever live service games go away. But yeah, that's it
Yeah.
for that for me. If unless you have something else to talk about,
No, I am not surprised to see this. I don't particularly care about Bungie. I've never played a game Bungie's made outside of the Destinies. Like I never played any of the Halos or anything like that. So I don't have any affinity for them. I think they are a studio that gets very lucky that they're still alive sometimes with all the crazy stuff that they've tried and failed at and still managed to skate by. Uh, so
there should
I
be room for trying odd things though.
sure.
And when you make Halo, like you should have the latitude to try a couple crazy things.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's insane. They're very lucky because Destiny ended up working out, but they were terrible with Destiny sometimes, and sometimes they were great. And they're a studio who's, from what I understand in terms of gameplay, because I only played Destiny and Destiny 2 a bit, their gunplay always feels great, but their actual support and the quality outside of their gunplay always feeling awesome just is so wild all over the place. That I think that in some ways they're lucky that they managed to survive, you know, and that they tricked Sony into buying them. So 2.5 Witcher 3s, man. I can't wait for the Witcher 4.
20 X33s, 20. Like that's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, whatever.
You can try like the too cool for school poo poo on it. It's a good game, and
It is a good game.
20 times the budget of it is a lot. You
It's a
don't
very
have to
good
make
game.
a commentary about it every time it comes up.
I'm not as impressed by 20 times X33's budget. I'm more impressed by 2.5 Witcher 3s because the Witcher 3 is one of the greatest games of all time, and they did it on, and they spent 2.5 times the budget for it. Whereas Expedition 33 is a very good game and nowhere near the top of anything of all time, except for music, which I will never deny its music quality. I have the Lumiere
All
edition
right, moving on.
downstairs. Like I
Moving
like
on.
the game.
Moving on.
Okay,
Let's go to what we're
moving on.
playing. And you
Can't
can
wait for
go
the
first
Witcher
because
4
I
and Witcher
typically, yep,
remake.
Witcher Renote's coming out. What we're playing, you go first.
Yeah, so I finally finished Greedfall, The Dying World, after like 55 hours is what I think I ended up sitting it there. I definitely have a lot more time having played it because I'm a save scummer and I reloaded a lot and the game doesn't load particularly quickly. It is a slightly slower load than you would expect, but I never found a chest that I was not willing to save scum to unlock. So, or a dialogue check that I was willing to fail. So, or a survival check or anything. Anyway, yeah. I Byron, I really, really like this game. I really like it a lot. It is an awesome world, and it's so well written. Some of the voice acting is so good, particularly the main character's female version. At least I didn't play the male, so I don't know how he sounds. But the female version of Rittinger she's got this accent that's like I don't even know how to do it. It's almost like she's constantly choking on something in her throat, like her tongue is too far in her throat when she's talking. It's fascinating how well it's done, but that's like the accent across all of the Tier for D natives. Like they do such a good job, and they have the whole native the whole native language that they just built up from nothing. It seems like it's so cool, and the gameplay is fun. I will say that some of the gameplay and the combat was a little too easy by the end. I was really just spamming this one ability that had like a 12-second cooldown that just obliterated things that I that it attacked. So that was okay, but that's my fault. I could have raised the difficulty or whatever. Uh, I thought that enemy variety was good, not great. Combat was good, but had some, like I said, a little bit easy on the end, and had enough depth for the tactical side of things if you really wanted to do it that way. Sometimes I would turn on intense tactics, like controlling each party member and telling them what to do, and then sometimes just turn on their, automatic do the smart thing that you want to do uh style of play. Like that's fine. Uh there's so much RPG-ness, the dialogue choices and the systems and settings and all. Like there's so much you can be a jerk almost anytime you want to be a jerk to people, which I love. And there's like romance on the companions, and it's just so good. It's just not finished. It's just not finished, and that hurts. It's This is where I am. This is the kind of game that, because I love it so much, because I enjoy it so much, and I really love this world, and I can deal with things, I would say that I personally call this like a 7.5. That's how I feel, because I don't care about bugs that much and crashes. Like that doesn't bother me that much in a game because I was enjoying it so much, because I was just so invested in this world. But it's also so unfinished that it's like a 6.5. And that's probably the score that I'm going to end up giving it when I write the review for it, because it is unfinished. Like there's a companion that you just has no quest. He has no quest line. All the companions have a quest line. They're all really well done, except this one guy who just has no quest. I didn't really hear him talk ever until I started bringing him along the main story path, because I was trying to get his opinion of me raised up, because there's no other way to get his opinion raised up unless you bring him on the story quest. And I was trying to get him up to the friendly level with everyone else, but I didn't have enough story quests to do it. So I couldn't get him. He was just that nice. Our relationship was just a nice relationship.
Cheer.
You okay?
I'll replace it one day, but not today.
Okay. So but he was cool. He was a really cool character that I really enjoyed getting to know once I started bringing him on the story quest. And I wished I brought him along more, that he had a personal quest to do. So it's just so, like, it's just missing so much stuff. And it's the kind of game that if it had that stuff and my actual love for, like, if I want to give this game like an 8.5 or a 9, because that's the level of potential that was here. If they had finished it, if they had the chance to finish it and fix the broken bugs and close the open issues that they just like cut. And oh my goodness, Byron, it hurts me. I am hurt. I am injured. I am wounded in my heart
Well, I've
here.
got good news for you. You never have to play a Greedfall game ever again.
That is not true, because apparently they're releasing a DLC next month that is included in the deluxe edition of the game that I upgraded to. So I don't
I
know.
hope that it's half finished tripe.
They haven't finished patching the game, so they've patched it. I think one major patch and then like a minor hotfix thing since the game launched, and they haven't done anything to it since. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know how this DLC is shaping up. I don't know if the company's for sale. I don't like.
They're out of money, right?
Yeah, they were insolvent, meaning that they couldn't pay their debts properly. So the French court is gonna do, whatever they need to do and make a determination if they're gonna dissolve them or sell them, or if they can restructure somehow. I don't know. I don't know what the finer details are, but it's just such a shame. Like this game had so much potential, and it's like, why do all of my fantasy series die? Why do all my favorite fantasy series get killed? I don't understand.
Because you have very special requirements for games that other people don't share.
I don't. I just get bad luck from the developers doing dumb things.
Obviously, it's the luck.
It's, I mean, I don't like it's, I don't know. I don't know. Like Spiders has been on a tear for years making regular sized game, like, sorry, large-ish games on smaller budgets that are good but not great because they usually have some sort of quirk to them that makes them good, not great. And like, I just was hoping they would keep doing that. Just keep doing that. And then they just went good but totally busted in a lot of ways.
Well, the last thing I'll have to say about it is the old rule of if everybody you meet is an a hole, perhaps you're the a hole. That may fit with the games that you like. It's okay to be quirky and like weird things. It doesn't make you bad.
Dragon Age and Greedfall both sold extremely well. They both sold very well. Then the developers went and made bad sequels for them. That's what happened. This is a bad sequel for this game because it's busted and didn't
Yeah, but
have a finish.
I don't know that Dragon Age is anywhere near the territory of some of like the bigger mainline games. Like it's
Dragon Age Inquisition sold like 12 million copies.
compare that to like a Fortnite or a Grand Theft Auto.
Compare it to anything else that EA releases. Dragon Age sells better than Mass Effect.
And I mean, there's not a new Mass Effect coming out. They're doing a redo of the stupid thing, right?
No,
Mass Effect 4, or is it a remake?
it's Mass Effect 5.
Mass Effect 5. I didn't know there's a 4.
Andromeda is 4.
And that's from somebody who likes Mass Effect.
Mass Effect Andromeda is the fourth one from 2017. Anyway, so yeah, I finished Greedfall. I'm gonna write the review of it hopefully soon. I really like this game. I hate that I have to give it not as good a score as I want to give it. This review is going to be interesting because it's going to be me flattering it as much as possible and then also say, but there's so many problems. So we'll see how it goes. And then the other thing I put just a little bit of time into is that game I mentioned last week, People of Note, the musical JRPG. I have played like maybe 35 minutes of it or whatever, not a ton, but I want to at least bring it up because I liked what I played so far. You play as a character called Cadence in the country of Cordia because it's a
Oh
musical
God.
game. It's a game full of musical puns and puns in general like that. So if you don't like that, you're not gonna like it. But it's an interesting turn-based combat system. I got to do one fight so far. It's set a turn is called a stanza. You know, again, it's all musical stuff and like
No, I get it.
yeah, no, I know. So and so like you each character gets to go like once per per thing, but sometimes you can go more than once from what it said. So usually it's once. I don't know how often you get to go more than once per turn, but uh your a weapon is a microphone. Like it's all musical themed. And I've heard one song so far and it was good. It was a really good song. They had a nice song played through. Uh and that's about it. Like I don't have too much to say yet because I haven't had enough time to put into it, but I'll play through this one. I don't know if I'll keep playing it right away or if I'll jump into Crimson Desert finally or Pragmata coming out or what, but
You should give a Crimson Desert another month to patch itself.
they keep patching it. They do keep making it better and better from everything I see. They released another patch yesterday. So
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
see.
I'll mock games that come out too early with that are half baked. You know, Crimson Desert is definitely one of them. I love No Man's Sky, even though that was kind of half baked whenever it came out. But I will always give uh, props to developers who support their products, and at least it looks like Crimson Desert is trying to do it now. If we could just get companies to release things when they're ready and not ahead of time.
I can't even say that Crimson Desert was half baked from everything I've read about it. It seems like it was like 88% baked or whatever because like there's no way that a half baked game could be patched up this quickly. It's been out for less than a month and they've had 3 or 4 major patches to it. Like
Let me
it
tell
had to
you,
have been in the works beforehand.
sure, but they released it knowing that. And
Oh
honestly,
yeah.
like online connected consoles have been absolutely horrible for allowing developers to put out crap that's not ready. Back in the day when you bought a cartridge and that was the game that you got and it never was changing, I mean, there are obviously downsides to that, but it also meant that when you got that cartridge, by and large, that game was ready to go.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I just don't I think like Greedfall is half baked in some ways. Like not quite, but with the level of bugs and brokenness, it's not ready. I
And
just I I feel like half baked means that it is so broken it's not playable in some ways, and I don't think that's what Crimson Desert was from what I've seen, and that's definitely not what Greedfall is. So.
Unless you have an Intel based video card.
Nope, they patched it.
I'm saying, but at launch they did not.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been patched.
yeah, yeah.
So that'll go into our wild card also, because I have thoughts about all of that related. So I'll bite my tongue for now. And
Yeah, well, that's all I have to say on People of Note. I'm looking forward to playing more of it because it's cool. It's isometric. There's no camera control, at least not yet. So you're just running around. You're from the one angle and you're interacting with things. It's voice acted in the 2D cutscenes and the 3D cutscenes. General like chit chat isn't voiced. So it's. I said last week I think that it was a single dev. I think I was totally wrong about that. It is. I just know the guy who was the lead of it, but I think he had like a decent sized staff of outsourcing and stuff, QA testers and whatnot. I don't know exactly how big the studio is, but yeah. So that's that. And Byron, what are you playing this week? Let's hear it.
So I have had a ton of time to play this week, but I did finish Resident Evil Village. I loved Resident Evil Village despite having watched somebody else play it and known all the plot points. It's a well built game. It still stinks that obviously we talked about this last week, having the first level be the best level by far. You always want other areas to meet that standard. The last area was almost as good as the first one, but it wasn't. So overall, it was a well put together game. It was a well designed game. It had just enough of backtracking whenever you get whatever key and you have to remember to go back to whatever door. It does a good job of marking those things on the map so you know
Nice.
what you have to go do, which is one of my pet peeves. Is I hate having to remember crap when you're spending 20 hours in a game and you're like, oh yeah, what did I do in hour one?
Right. Right.
Don't make me take notes. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. um, my One of the cool things about the post game is obviously there's a new game plus and you can continue playing and make it more difficult. New difficulties open up. I started new game plus. I didn't really get into it because I was disappointed. I had read that when you are in new game plus, you can use some of your challenge points. So different things happen throughout the game and
Yeah.
you get challenge points for doing various things in the game. You can spend them to unlock unlimited ammo. And I was looking forward to that. Like, the game is not hard if you have unlimited ammo. And so I don't care what it's for. I just want to be able to go pop the crap out of things and not have to worry about running out of ammo. And it turns out you can only buy unlimited ammo after you've fully upgraded guns. And you can't fully upgrade guns on the first playthrough. Like, levels 4 and 5 of the guns don't become available until your next playthrough. And because of how the game works, you don't get all the guns at the beginning. I can't remember if they stay unlocked or not whenever you start a new game. I'll have to go check. But I was a little disappointed in that. I don't know if I'll play more of it. One of the cool things is after you beat the game, you unlock a time trial based version of it called the Mercenaries, and you play on little half levels, and you have to kill a certain number of bad guys in a period of time, and your score is given to you based on how well you do. And I played that a few times, and that was a lot of fun. And I'll probably play a little bit more of that, unless I get distracted by something else. But yeah, Resident Evil Village, it's on Game Pass. It's a great game. I'll play 9 whenever it comes out on Game Pass. I'm not going to pay separate for that. The story was weird. I knew that going into it. It's not the traditional, T virus, X virus, whatever they have now, zombies. It involves mushrooms and fungus and mold or something like that. It's weird. And I don't know. It doesn't feel like Resident Evil to me, but I have an old school view of Resident Evil and what it's supposed to be. And it's still good. It's still good, even if the story doesn't 100% gel. You do see people from other games who show up, and that's nice to see the continuity there. I feel like they're getting into some weird territory where they're trying to evolve the storyline, but you're branching out into, does Umbrella still exist? Does Umbrella not exist? What's the BSAA? Where does everybody work these days? And it's kind of getting a little wacky and hard to follow, but
Did you do the
you still
DLC?
recognize players. No, I did not do the DLC.
Are you
I
going
didn't even know
to?
there was a DLC.
There is.
Is it on? Is it on Game Pass? I don't know. If it's
They
on Game
don't
Pass, I might.
they don't normally have DLC on Game Pass. Usually, like that's the separate purchase for like
Psh,
$10 or whatever.
yeah, I probably won't pay for that because I got other things that I want to play.
Then
Um,
see, to me, if I don't do the DLC, I feel like I don't finish a game.
if they wanted to be part of the game, they should have put it in the game.
Eh.
If you're paying $70 for a game, you should get the game. If there's more narrative that's part of the game story than included in the game,
Well, it's a continuation of the story or something. Then
then make it the next one. Like DLC is just a way to get more money out of people for less content. I feel pretty strongly about that.
all right. I like DLC for games that I enjoy because I want more of it. I don't mind paying more for things when I want more of it. If I don't
Just
like it, I won't play it. Huh?
make the pie higher.
Make the pie higher? I don't know what that
You
means.
don't. That's an old George W. Bush thing. They're talking about everybody getting a piece of the pie, and what he meant to say is, "Why not make the pie bigger?" And he said, "Make the pie higher. Make the game bigger. Like don't hold back to make more money." But
You just said 45 minutes ago the games cost too much money to make and they cost too much money to buy.
okay, like this is their. They already built the DLC for the most part. Some of them they string along for years. Include that in the original in the purchase price. If you're
If you
already
think
asking
of
$70 for a
if you think
game,
of food, if you think of a game as food, you eat the meal, and then the DLC is like a digestif, a little after the meal taste to close out the meal.
they intentionally cut content or string content along to extract more money out of consumers.
I think that
And
that sometimes that's true, but I don't think that's always true because you can tell a complete story and go, this is where the story starts, this is where the story ends, and then after that story, we're gonna add a little bit extra stuff to follow up on what happened in there.
with rare exception, I don't do a lot of DLC.
All right, so Dragon Age, always Dragon Age. Dragon Age Trespassers DLC. They had two DLCs on the side that were not connected to the main anything. They were just extra content that you could do. The Trespasser DLC for Dragon Age. You buy the game, you have the story. Corypheus is the big bad guy. You're going after Corypheus. You beat Corypheus at the end of the game. The story has been told. And then a companion runs off. And you're like, where'd my companion go? Why did he run off like that? And then the DLC tells you the story of why the companion ran off like that. Separate story, finished
And
story.
oops, that's related to Dragon Age, the new version, right? The beginning of the new version is the end of that DLC, isn't it?
No.
Isn't it the elf?
Yeah, it is.
I
But
thought that was yeah.
so okay, so the fourth game was supposed to be actually tracking down the elf, as you call him. You're supposed to be hunting him
I'm
down. That was
trying.
supposed to be the
I'm
fourth
trying to
game
like not give away a whole lot out of the story because it's a big plot point.
of the Inquisition. Yeah. Okay. The point being, the start of this game is at the conclusion of what was supposed to be the fourth game, really, because you find the elf that you're tracking down, whereas the fourth game was supposed to be hunting the elf down when he goes away. But the DLC for Inquisition tells you why the elf ran away in the first place and exposes all that stuff. And then you're like, I got to catch the elf. And that's
Yeah,
how it
they're
goes.
intentionally leaving stuff out that bridges the story because they're trying to extract more money.
The DLC told a separate story that gave you a wet your beak prepping you for the next game. But the first game you played had a told story. It had a whole story. The story is told. You don't ever
It,
have to
and,
play
and
that extra DLC.
and then the bridge to the next game is not complete unless you've bought and played the DLC.
Yes, that would be true. But that's part of the next game. That's nothing to do with the game itself here, because the game itself was told a full story, which makes it
Release complete
optional.
release complete games, release complete stories. Don't make you buy extra parts to go into the next
Would
one.
you rather that DLC have been a part of the main game and leave the main game on a cliffhanger for 10 years?
I would rather them to end the story where it needs to end, or release like a web series on YouTube that people can watch that shows what happens in between. That they did that with the Avengers movies, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Marvel one shots, those are good.
Yeah, do something like that, or release it as just a free bonus to make you excited for the next game. That's possible also, and instead of charging $10 to $20 for the DLC.
It was actually 15 at the time. I
So
got it
10 to
for
20
free.
bucks.
Yeah, I know. I was. That's why I was laughing. I was chuckling because it was 10 to 20. It was 15 right in the middle.
Yeah.
I got it for
So
free
anyway,
actually, but yeah.
that's Resident Evil Village. I liked it. I will maybe play more of it. We'll see. And then I've been continuing to play Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics is still one of the best games ever made. Has the best story of any game ever made. Some of the best music of any game ever made. For tactical games, it is a masterclass in how to do a tactical game. I'll play more of it in the upcoming week because it really fits my ability to play my Switch and do other things, which is why I bought it on the Switch and not on my computer. I don't know what else I need to say about Final Fantasy Tactics. It's an amazing game. If you like tactical stuff, Final Fantasy Tactics is great.
It just looks so ugly.
It
It looks
does.
so
It
bad.
absolutely does not.
It looks so bad.
That's like saying that impressionist work looks bad because it's just a bunch of dots.
It is. It is bad because it's a bunch of dots. That is true.
All right, that's enough for what we're playing.
You're not playing Nier? It's
Um,
on your list. You're not playing Nier?
I I didn't remove it from last week. I haven't touched Nier just because I've been busy. I've had something going on every night this week. I played pickleball. I went and rode bikes. I made pizza and watched wrestling. I went out to a friend's kid's birthday party.
A
Week
lot
was
of
packed.
birthdays.
A lot of birthdays. People were born in April, I guess.
It's a good month. Well,
For the
thank you,
weather, it's pretty
Byron.
good.
Yes.
You're
Well,
welcome.
thank you for sharing your games. I appreciate your thoughts on Resident Evil. I will never play it, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. And Final Fantasy Tactics, I hope you get to enjoy it. How much more
Oh,
do you have left of Tactics?
Oh, a lot. Final
Oh,
Fantasy Tactics is a huge game. I actually almost forgot because I didn't write it down. There was a title update for Super World, and a friend of the show, MG, alerted me to that. And I have played more of Super World. Super World, I did stream for a bit. It's a puzzle based game with little toy cutout figures in a Toy Story type world. It's a lot of fun. It is not an expensive game. It's worth picking up if you like puzzles. I haven't gotten to the new content because I haven't finished the game yet, but I'm still playing through it. I just been busy, got into other games and forgot that I still had it, and now I'm back into playing that. I was actually playing it before we recorded today.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So yeah, I'm
let's
done. Wild card.
yeah, let's move into the wild card. Byron, I'm just gonna throw it over to you because this is your topic here about pirating games. So, what do you want to talk
Yep.
about?
Well, what's your experience pirating games?
I don't.
Ever? Haven't ever?
I don't pirate games. The only pirated game that I have ever had, trying to think. I don't know how I got it or where it came from or what. Like I'm genuinely blanking, but at one point in college I had Pokemon Red on my phone somehow. I don't remember who put it there or how I got it there or if I asked someone to do it or if someone said, "Hey, do you want Pokemon Red on it?" Like someone somewhere got it on my phone in an emulation state. Um and then that's it. That's
So back in the good old days, whenever games came on disc on a computer, like an Apple IIe or an IBM PS2, whatever, you could literally just copy somebody else's disc and play it. And back in those days, nobody really cared. Like maybe they did, but they didn't make it known. The internet didn't exist, so they couldn't really put out a notice to say, "Hey, we would rather you buy the game again than copy it." So it was pretty
yeah.
rampant. And honestly, like a lot of developers, they just wanted to get their stuff out there. Back in the day, like development teams didn't create games. A developer created a game. um, I think it was Jeff Minter created like Tempest, and that was him. um, and so they cared about getting their name out there in hopes that they could maybe sell a gigantic game. Lord British made a Calibeth before he made the Ultima series. It was back, I guess it'd be a 2D game, but it was all line art stuff, and it was pretty cool in the game or in the day. And I didn't have a real copy of a Calibeth. I had a copy that somebody gave me that I made a copy of. And back in those days, that was just something you did.
I
And
remember
they,
in the PS2 era trying to have my dad had like a DVD player and he would like he could burn discs and whatnot and I know that he tried to burn a disc copy and burn a disc of I think it was like a Dragon Ball game, like Dragon Ball Z game, and it didn't work because by the PS2 they had started putting their copyright protection on, so it didn't work. That's the only thing I can
Yeah,
think of.
and so you could buy devices that would plug into the back of a PS1. I don't. It got better and better and harder to defeat. But there have always been tricks to get pirated games to work. I want to say like one of the consoles had a way that if you held a certain button down, then it, like not on the controller, but like inside the housing, then it would
Yeah,
allow
I
you
think
to
it's a
bypass.
GameCube that has a switch. I think it's a GameCube with a little switch that lets you do it. That might be to bypass the
Yeah,
region lock, though.
and that may be what it is. But you could plug devices in like the Game Genie or Game Cracker type thing that would
I did
bypass
use
the
a
copy
Game Genie
protection.
once. I did use a Game Genie and that
Well,
stuff a little bit.
I had a Game Genie for the NES, and it was
Or Game
actually a
Shark.
cartridge you would plug your cartridge into. Game Shark, that was the one that was for the PlayStation. Um,
Yeah.
like as game, whenever CDs came out, it became less possible to pirate games just because not everybody had a CD burner. CD burners used to be a luxury,
Yeah.
and they took forever to burn a CD. Essentially, they were burning it at 1x, so it would take 74 minutes to burn through a CD. Um, and it wasn't super easy to always get a hold of extra CDs. And that the bar went lower and lower, and they started putting more and more copy protection on stuff. Um, since I was a kid, like I haven't really been involved in that scene, but it's still a scene, and there's different reasons people do it. Some of them because they want to play the game wherever they want to play the game, and so they'll take a Switch game and they'll have it ripped so they can play it on an emulator on their computer because they can play Breath of the Wild at 4K with better textures.
I want to be clear that it's that if we're talking piracy, I'm thinking specifically like illegally
Oh, it's
downloading
a
or using a game that you do not own a version of yourself, because
correct.
you are
And
illegally allowed to take a copy that you have and play it on an emulator.
I yes, but there's probably something in the EULA about about emulating a
I'm not
Switch
saying it's not.
on your
I'm not saying it's not against the EULA. I'm saying it's not against the law. It is not
yeah
a literal
you
crime, which
the
piracy is a literal crime.
yeah and I'm not going to encourage anybody to do it. I don't think that it's great. um and I'll get into that as part of my manifesto in a minute, but people do it for a variety of reasons. They do it because games are expensive. They do it because they want to play games on a different platform than what is currently allowed. um, they do it because they want to try a game out before they actually pay money to do it. One of the things I saw on Reddit recently, and I can't remember which game it was, but somebody had pirated the game. They played it. They thought it was great. They paid money to get the legit copy. And then they had the guts to email the developer and say, hey, I can't take my save game from my pirated copy to the retail copy that I bought. And the dev said, mail me your save game. I'll fix it and send it back to you, and did it because the dev's like, hey, you pirated it, but then you paid money because
Yeah,
you
they
liked
bought it.
it.
Yeah,
Cool. I'm up for that. And having that kind of attitude, I think, is absolutely great. Um,
sure.
it used to be, and this is going to feed into my thoughts on pirating. It used to be that people would make copies of VHS tapes and they would make copies of DVDs and have those illegal things around. And as streaming became easier to use and financially viable way of watching things, piracy took a nosedive
Yeah.
because it was reasonable to get these things. Piracy has been on the uptick recently as streaming has started to become more and more expensive.
Yep.
And so that's going to lead me into my thoughts on piracy in general, is that when you make gaming expensive and restrictive and potentially too impactful or too compromising to what people feel to their computers, then the reasons why people are going to pirate games, they become more common. And I think that the best way to combat piracy is to be reasonable about returns, which Steam does. And that's why Steam makes money hand over fist, is because they make it super easy to buy a game, play the game, not like the game, and return the game because you've, what is it, 2 hours or something
Yeah,
like
two
that
hour
for
two
Steam.
hours within 2 weeks. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. My story of Crimson Desert before with the physical copy in Amazon that I was telling. I waited to pass the deadline to return it because I trusted Amazon was gonna have the code, and then again they didn't email me anything, but it was in the box. So when I saw it was in the box, I contacted Sony directly by phone because it doesn't let you refund it, and they gave me the money back. So thank you, Sony. Good job. Good customer service. I got my refund because I hadn't done it. I
Um,
hadn't played it. So
when as game prices continue to go up, then the reasons why people are going to do that for financial, or the reason why you do it for financial would be increasing as well, because people aren't going to want to pay $80 for a new game.
right.
And again, I'm going to spend all of my life lauding Steam until it's no longer something that is worth doing, because
No
they're
longer
very
laudable.
consumer focused. It's no longer laudable because they're very consumer focused. It's easy to get games on sale on Steam. If you want to play it on day one, you're going to pay full price for it. If you can wait
Not even
six
always.
months,
Sometimes you get 10% off.
sometimes you do. Or if you buy a game in pre-release, you can maybe get 10% off, 20% off. And I think that's great. That's a great way to move games. Um, but yeah, so in my mind, the more consumer friendly you are, the less reasons there are to pirate games. And
Yeah.
if Resident Evil 9 didn't, and like, some people pirate it because they just want to get rid of Denuvo. Maybe they're going to pay the money to have it and then play a cracked version of it that doesn't have the copy protection because they don't want their crap running on their system. And I think that's fantastic. On a single player game, like, a lot of these things aren't needed, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so my thoughts on it are: make things consumer friendly, price things fairly. And it's a whole other argument whether $70, $80, or whatever they're going to charge in the future is worth it for a game. Um, I think that the market is speaking, and I think it's going to be speaking more in this next year. But get rid of the reasons for people to pirate games, and in my mind, they won't pirate games.
Yeah, it's well known that reducing the barrier to entry, reducing the level of friction to get invested in something is the best way to reduce and fight piracy. It's the same thing that happened with streaming music. That's the biggest example. Unfortunately, it killed the music industry, but nonetheless, it is the easiest way to get people into it. I think that we run into the problem of games themselves are so expensive to create, as we were talking about earlier, that you have to do and I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know how people make projections in general and they forecast things, but you have to walk this fine line between I need to sell either a certain number of copies or set the price at a certain level, and you need to balance that. If I set the game at $50, am I going to sell enough copies to make up for the extra $20 per copy that I would have lost by lowering the price, or do I keep it at 70 and sell fewer copies? Which one of these is going to give me enough money to get the money back and make a profit on it? And that is a hard thing to figure out sometimes, particularly when you're dealing with budgets that are Bungie 200 to 250 million dollars, and you have to sell that million copies, or 2 million copies, 3 million copies. Like, it is hard to figure that calculus out, and a lot of teams miss that number. So I understand why people would pirate, because they're too expensive, but at the same time, you know, if it's too expensive, you can't, like, you can't just go and walk into the store and steal the fancy shirt that you can't afford the shirt.
Agree. I'm not saying it's right. I don't read that into what I think. They people argue about it's not the same as stealing a car, and that's not a reasoning that I will follow. Just because you're not physically stealing from somebody doesn't mean you're not stealing their content. I'm not judging whether it's right or wrong in this. I'm just discussing how, in general, thoughts on piracy and how you can reduce it.
Yeah, I think that piracy as a baseline is wrong. I think that it's also ridiculous and stupid of publishers to make games so hard to get. Like, Pokemon and Nintendo should make their Pokemon games super easy to play. There's no reason that they're not available for sale or on their Nintendo Switch Online subscription. Like, those games should be accessible. Why make it difficult? it's one thing if you're like ashamed of it, like, oh, we made that game, it's so terrible, we can't let anyone else ever play that game again. All right, I guess that's stupid, but at the same time, I can understand your reasoning for it. But I mean, Pokemon is the biggest intellectual property in the world, in the history of the world. It's the biggest thing ever, and you can't easily go and play Red. You can't play Red.
I
That's
mean, that
crazy.
they're not special. Like, Disney used to do the same thing with the Disney
The Disney
Vault.
Vault,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So I
But
mean,
Disney would put things in the vault and then take them out of the vault and put them in the vault and take
they
them
would
out of
do
the
it at
vault.
strategic times to milk as much money from the consumers as possible. As a Disney
Exactly.
fan, I fully recognize that.
Exactly. And what does Nintendo do? They just don't even bother. They're
They
just
don't
like,
even
oh,
bother.
that we're not. No, there's no vault. We just
Now,
no, forget that.
I I have completely different feelings on what I consider to be abandoned IP or abandoned games. I am a firm believer that there's a little bit of something that's created that belongs to society. And if developers are going to sit on something and not do anything with it, or just abandon a game, and somebody wants to find a way to make it accessible, art belongs to everybody. It can be your IP and you deserve to profit off of it. Um, I think that some of the things that happen with extending copyrights is pretty awful. That's another discussion for another day. But yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to go pirate Pokemon Red and put it out there, hey, Nintendo, here's your opportunity to make it right.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer, and so my perspective on these things is conflicting because I don't disagree with what you say. I just don't like that we don't have the laws that allow it. Like, I think that we need to rewrite our laws to allow for abandonware to just be available to anyone. You don't know who owns that copyright anymore. No one has the right. No one's claiming that copyright. No one can prove that they own that copyright. It's an abandoned copyright, and you don't, and it's gone. Like that sort of thing should be allowed. Things should enter public domain when they are untraceable
And the reason why
or
that doesn't
abandoned.
happen is because of what?
The law,
Because, and the reason why the law doesn't change is because of what?
lobbyists.
Lobbyists and money. Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you're not going to touch Dragon Age and somebody else, like if it's been 5 years and there's no plans involved in making a new Dragon Age game, and somebody else wants to make a Dragon Age game, I think it should be allowed to go for it.
Yeah,
They
I
have
don't
a
know.
right
I
to
don't know what the
repair
time
law.
frame would be,
I don't
but
know. I'm just throwing that out there as a
I
number.
know.
There's a right to repair law in Colorado now, and the tech companies are doing all they can to make it unconstitutional or get it revoked or
Yeah,
have it usurped by a federal law.
they've been losing those battles against the right to
Yeah.
repair. The right to repair is taking off and winning in pretty much anywhere that it's been challenged, which
But it's an
should.
uphill battle
I mean, anything
for
against the status
consumers.
quo is an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But it is an uphill battle that has seen significant progress in a positive direction lately. So there was a big lawsuit about it that went in the right direction, I would say, in the last couple of years. I don't remember what it is off
Yeah.
the top of my head. I'd have to look. And I don't want to look because last time I tried to look something up on this computer, it crashed in the middle of our podcast. I don't want to do that. So
Yeah. So I mean, and to extend my treatise, the reason why laws don't
it was the
change is for
manifesto earlier.
treatise, manifesto, put whatever you want to, essays, letters. Um, the
Papers.
importance is that you recognize it for the importance that it is. The reason laws don't change, I think, are multiple fold. One is because the people that we hire to make our laws are outdated and they may not understand the intricacies of modern technology. Also, because money's involved in everything, and Disney doesn't want to lose access to Steamboat Willie, which happened last year or the year before that.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean there's and also because law is hard, like there's always ways to punch holes in laws, and so people try to make them as foolproof as possible, and
Yeah.
there's always jerks who are going to try to argue different ways because that's what lawyers do.
Are you calling me a jerk? You calling me a jerk?
You called yourself a jerk earlier. You said I like to play. Is that? I'm just recognizing it.
Steamboat Willie will come up in a minute, actually, when we get to the closing segments.
Yeah, I see what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, that kind of interests me. But
it's supposed to be really good from the previews I've heard. Good. Yeah, from the previews.
Anything else you want to add about piracy and laws for copyrights and whatever else you feel like that's related?
Yeah, there's so many factors to figure out because the person who does create something should own the right to profit off of it, and they should probably have that right for their entire life. Like I don't question that. And then I think like own anything else that you own, you can pass it on to your descendants, and that's why you get into lengthy copyright terms, life of the author plus 75 years, like that sort of thing. So it's a tricky situation because you're right that art and things that you create for the people become beloved eventually, if they're successful, and the ability to restrict others from accessing that or creating new things in it has a twinge of wrong to it. It just feels wrong that Dragon Age is never going to exist ever again because I'm going to be dead by the time it's out of copyright. Like that's just unfair. Um, to people. And I understand the law is not about fairness exactly. The law is about justice and all that sort of thing. But
Eh.
you can adjust things. There are middle grounds. I'm a contracts lawyer because I believe there is always a middle ground between the interests of two parties. And if we can't find the middle ground between my interest and your interest, I'm not the one that's being unreasonable. You are. I'm always willing to meet you in the middle somewhere. I can't say the same for everyone I've ever worked with, on the other side, and sometimes deals fall apart. But I do believe that in general, people want to find arrangements that work for them all, and there's got to be a solution that's better than piracy for these old games that people love, or games and IP dying because they're abandoned by the owners, or even the concept of the live services, that we've talked about before, and them going away for game preservation. There has to be a middle ground for that sort of thing that makes people happy. I just don't know exactly what it would be. But yeah, don't pirate games, people. I understand your reasons for it, but don't do it. Don't break the law. It's not worth it.
It is the legal opinion of the show that pirating games is wrong.
That's not a legal opinion. That's a moral opinion. It's not legal advice to say don't pirate games either. It's just don't do it. It's a moral opinion, and it's a common sense opinion. We don't give legal
Mm,
advice on this show.
I'm not a lawyer, so I can give all the legal advice that I want.
You could, I guess, technically, as long as you're not portraying yourself as a lawyer.
Not a, not a lawyer. Never will be. I'm not going to sit for the bar.
But you
I mean,
could.
I think that you raise an interesting word that I don't know that I necessarily agree 100% with, but I think that we've reached the end of the discussion. I don't know that I agree that pirating games is necessarily amoral, but I'd have to give thought to that.
Yeah, it's definitely, there are arguments for and against it. I think that you can have an exception to every rule, and I do think that the baseline for piracy is it's morally wrong, comma, but, there's an exception to every rule in some ways. What that is for more philosophical people than us to figure out, my friend.
Maybe we'll have a wild card coming up. Is piracy morally wrong, and we can discuss the morality of it.
Sure.
I don't know that I don't know that I have an opinion on the morality of pirating games, but
Well, that'll do it
another
for
day.
this. That'll do it for this episode of the show. Let's go into our conclusions here. Sound good, Byron?
Go for it.
All right. So we've got a few upcoming games here. This one I put on just for Byron because I don't care about it. But Hades 2 comes to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S on April 14th.
I don't care about it because I've already got it on my Switch, and that's where you need to play it.
Yeah, but you like the game, and I don't know.
It's a fantastic game. A Game of the Year contender last year.
This is true. Next up, Replaced comes to Xbox Series X and S and PC on April 14th. I bring this one up just because this one has been in development for what feels like forever, and it's a rare Xbox PC exclusive that is not coming to PlayStation. So, worth noting. I've heard people say that it's really good. I've heard some people say that it's not as good. Are you looking it up?
I am looking it up.
It's a side scroller, Souls-like is how I've seen some people describe it. But I don't know how Souls-like it actually is. I just heard that.
Uncover the sinister secrets of the Phoenix Corporation through the eyes of its own creation. REACH, an AI trapped in a human body against its will. Huh. I will look at that and see what I think later. 2.5D platformer.
Yeah. Right up your alley. Right in your wheelhouse.
It looks kind of cool. Yeah. I may put it on my little heart wish list. Actually, I did just put it on my heart. Coming soon to Game Pass.
Yeah, it's a Game Pass game as well. Next up, Mouse PI for Hire. Sorry, I guess it's Mouse PI for
PI
Hire
for
is how
hire.
it should be read. Well, yeah, because it's not Mouse PI, it's Mouse PI for Hire because of where the colon's located in it. But Mouse PI for Hire comes to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, Switch PC, and PC on April 16th. This is basically Steamboat Willie if he was a gun-toting
Film
private
noir.
detective. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I love the cartoon graphics. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, it's called like
And I keep
tube graphics or something, string tube, something like that. It's a 1930s art style.
eventually I'll watch a YouTube video of some of the playthrough and just to see what it's like it reminds me a lot of Cuphead, and I
It
never
is. It looks
played
like Cuphead.
Cuphead.
Yeah, it's not
But
the gameplay of Cuphead, but it looks like
no,
Cuphead.
Cuphead's a shooter,
Yeah,
and like that was one of those games that I always thought I would want to play but never did.
I don't think
um
Cuphead would be called a shooter. Cuphead's like,
it's a bullet hell game.
yeah, that's better. Yeah, because this is actually
It's
more
a
like,
shooter.
but this is more like a
Mm.
Doom shooter. Like this is actually like a shooter
When
shooter.
I say shooter, I'm talking about like a top down or side scrolling shooter, like
Okay.
old
Yeah.
school shooters,
Okay.
not like a first person gun game.
Yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, this one is apparently a mix of like Doom, but it's bigger than that too. It's like got a whole map, like a world map thing. It looks really interesting. I won't be playing it right now, but I am not writing it off, which, as Byron can attest, is a big deal for me because I write games off all the time.
Especially ones
And
that have pixel graphics.
yes, speaking of a game that I'm writing off because I think it looks like a travesty, Tomodachi Life: Living the Dream comes to Switch on April 16th. I think this game should not exist to remove any level of offensiveness because I am offended when I look at this game and hear the robot voices, and everything about this game makes me sick to my stomach. So I'm sorry, people, but it looks awful. It
I
looks
know
so
nothing about it.
awful.
I'm not going to spend my time on it.
And then finally, a game that does look good. Pragmata comes to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, and PC on April 17th. This is Capcom's game that was, if you don't remember, Byron, revealed at the PlayStation 5 reveal event.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I played the demo and I enjoyed the demo. I'll probably wait till it comes out on Game Pass. There's nothing that really grabbed me and said, get this on day one.
Yeah, I'm on deck to review it for Season Gaming, but we've not gotten any sort of a code. I don't know if anyone's reached out about it or not. I've been so busy with Greedfall and then Life is Strange in the middle of my Greedfall that I just wasn't even thinking about Pragmata. And then of course it's coming out like right on the weekend when I've got things to do, and yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I am looking forward to this game because I think it looks cool. I did not play the demo. I didn't think it was worth it. I watched someone play a little bit of it. Looks fun. Looks whatever. So yeah, that's that. Anything else, Byron, from you?
Nothing else for me.
All right. Well, then let's do our closeout. Where can people find you?
Radio Free Europe on Blue Sky. I actually posted this week absolutely nothing about video games. So
Oh, is it
wrestling and
wrestling?
politics. So wrestling and politics. Yep.
Gotcha. Well, you can
AEW pay
find
per view tomorrow night. I'm probably going to miss it, but I will try to watch it later.
you can find my writing at Season Gaming as Don Lionheart. You can find me on Twitter/X at Joseph_Law_Russa. Please check out my Life is Strange review that I'm hoping Byron put in the video description last week because I put it in the document for him.
I did.
Thank you. Check that out. I worked hard on that game and I really loved it a lot. So please look it up. Remember to like and subscribe to this show if you enjoy our channel and the things that we do. We really appreciate all the interactions, the comments.
Leave comments. Talk about your experience with piracy and whether you think piracy is morally wrong as a kickoff for a future topic.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe Byron will still give away a game if you ask for a copy of Ball Pit. Who knows? But really, we appreciate everyone for watching and listening to the show. It means a lot to us. We really enjoy doing this and hope that we entertain you guys. And I know that some people want our show to be a little bit longer sometimes to entertain them when they drive very long distances for work. But we do our best to entertain.
There's a whole world of
and
podcasts
amaze.
out there to entertain people.
This particular person listens to a lot of horror audiobooks. That's his main thing.
That would not be something that I would listen to while I'm driving by myself, but it takes all types.
Well, thank you.
I can't listen to some Tool albums whenever it's dark and I'm by myself.
Oh goodness. Well, on that note, remember everyone, whether it's your gen, my gen, or someone else's, friends can be cross generation.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care all.